I'm Anna, and by the time you see this, I have hopefully and successfully handed in my bachelor thesis. But let's take a step back and see how this all went down. Come on. I started studying media design back in 2021 when I was still, blonde. But then the years went by, and in summer 2024, we as students were advised to at least think about a bachelor topic. And in the beginning, I wasn't really too sure. So, how did I end up here? Let me show you. It all started with the almighty mind map. I sat down and wrote everything down that came to my mind, everything I really wanted to achieve with this project. One of it being I wanted a printed product by the end, something I could have in my hands and show off. With this process, I ended up with creativity brain rot. From October to December 2024, I was put up with reading papers, books, and articles about internet and social media addiction. And honestly, it wasn't fun. It was kind of depressing. When I looked at the data, I felt depressed. There were so many alarming results from studies, especially young adults, who experienced symptoms of depression, anxiety, FOMO, and many more. The worst part? I knew that feeling. I was one of them. So, how did I do this? Let me show you. It all started out with making some sketches. I gathered inspo, and when I knew what to do, I realized I had to paint some paintings. Then I created a mole font, more on that later. And in the end, I just hoped everything would work out. So, what was my goal with this project? I wanted to create a visual and creative approach with a deeper understanding of this topic, and at the same time, open up new perspectives to make digital consumption more conscious. The aim was to show users solutions in which they can escape the online world and how creative hobbies and activities can act kind of as a key to freedom. I will now talk briefly about my process for the paintings and the 3D brain I modeled. First off, I only filmed one painting because my camera is just really being awful and it randomly turns off in the middle of filming. It annoys me very much, so I hate filming longer processes of anything. The process for both paintings were just very similar. I sketched everything out and I used, of course, some reference pictures to help me. I used acrylic paint for both of them, and I started with an umber shade for an underpainting. Then it was mostly working out the background, the main object, and the values. I also apologize for blocking the view in the middle of the painting. By the end, I had two finished paintings, Orchid Untitled and Brain Mycelium. Now for the actual brain. I used a website called Neurotorium, which offers free educational material about the brain developed and reviewed by experts. It's a great website. It has like this 3D scan of a brain which you can turn. And for me, who has no idea how the brain actually works, it was so helpful to have this side by side to look at as a reference. Then, of course, I used Blender, and I have used Blender for some projects before, but I'm in no way an expert. I looked at some tutorials, but mostly I freehanded this. I started out with creating a mirror to have both sides of the brain, and then I sculptured everything. In the end, I only had to render everything to make it look smooth, and I added this glass texture, which I only used a tutorial for it. Honestly, this took so much longer than it looks because I was just so out of practice. If you remember, I wrote down create mold font. I will now explain that part. I tried out many different fonts for the headline on the cover, but I wasn't quite satisfied with any of them. And then I saw this video of a guy creating a font with Sriracha. And at this point in my thesis, I was ready to risk it all. By the way, I will put a link to the video I just mentioned in the caption so you can go check it out. For my first try, I put a guacamole in a piping bag and then onto this cardboard. However, it didn't work and it just dried out. So, mold font 2.0 is. I repeated the whole process again with the piping bag and guacamole, just this time on a giant petri dish which I DIY'd myself. It was actually a tray for plants. And this time I was successful. Last but not least, I took a whole bunch of pictures, edited everything in Photoshop, and my mold font was done. Before showing you the actual design process, we will now take a look at this animation I created. I filmed myself first in my office space and went outside later on. In order to do this, I placed my camera on my desk, and the blue light you see is a small lamp hidden behind the phone. After filming everything, I edited the clips in Premiere Pro to get the individual PNGs. I did sort a lot of them out and ended up with around 120 frames in the end, but I probably had over 800 in the beginning. Then I printed them all out and edited and cut them by hand. So I literally cut pieces of paper out and I drew on the frames. Sometimes I had to use a white acrylic base to paint on them because the paper was so smooth with the printed pictures on them that I could almost not paint on them. It did work out in the end, and to finish it I had to scan the paper files in again, assemble them, and put them back together. Additionally, I added this typo animation in the background just to make the whole scene feel more coherent again. Those are now the actual clips of me designing the whole project. Honestly, I can't tell you a lot about it. It's just going back and forth and trying out different things that hopefully work with my vision. And sometimes things didn't work and I even had to redo some sketches. It was all worth it. I ended up with this wonderful magazine called Creativity Brainrot. But what is Creativity Brainrot? It is a magazine with a multimedia aspect. Each side holds a secret to unfold, and the further you go, the more you will learn. about society and hopefully yourself. It tells a story about creativity and how it's affected by social media. It shows how creativity can be the key to freedom and clarity, or to overwhelming nothingness. And now it's all basically done and over. What do you think? There were many times where I questioned my sanity in this project, especially when I started experimenting with mold and rot. I think the mold font looks so unique in its way, and I'm very glad I did it, and I look forward to experimenting with maybe something similar again. I also really loved the way I could use not digital assets for this project. Like, I love this painting and it gave me so much joy to create this. There were, of course, things that I could have done probably better. I would have loved to create more pages maybe, but the time was just not giving me anything. You don't know at what time I will be editing this. Still, I look at this project and I can't help but feel proud. And if you want to see more of my life and my art and everything, stay tuned and subscribe. Bye!